Helena always believed that happiness was not found in wealth, but in the warmth of a home filled with love. She had married Daniel 3 years ago, and their small house stood as proof of their simple joy. Every morning she would wake up to the smell of fresh coffee that Daniel prepared with a smile, and every evening they would share stories of their day, while the sun dipped behind the horizon. One evening, Helena placed a plate of roasted chicken on the table and looked at Daniel with a warm gaze. She asked softly, "Do you remember the first time we ate together here? It was the day we moved in." Daniel chuckled, his eyes sparkling. "Of course I remember. You tried to cook pasta, but ended up making a soup. I loved it anyway." Helena laughed, and her voice filled the room with life. "I was nervous. I wanted to impress you, but I failed miserably." Daniel reached for her hand across the table. "You never fail to impress me. You are the reason. I wake up every day with purpose." Their love was young but strong, and it gave Helena a sense of safety that nothing could break. She worked part-time at a bookstore in town while Daniel handled a small business, repairing electronics. It was not a luxurious life, but it was theirs, and it was enough. One Saturday afternoon, Helena sat beside him while he fixed a broken radio. She tilted her head, watching the focus in his eyes. "You are so talented. Daniel, people trust you because you always find a way to repair things." He smiled, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Maybe, but it is your encouragement that gives me strength. Without you, Helena, I am nothing." Her cheeks warmed, and she leaned closer, whispering, "Do not say that you are my everything too." Life felt like a quiet melody that never lost its rhythm. They would spend Sundays walking in the park, sharing ice cream and laughing like children. Helena sometimes thought to herself, "If this is what the rest of my life looks like, then I am blessed beyond measure." Yet hidden behind Daniel's smile, there were moments when his gaze drifted into shadows. Helena noticed him staring at unpaid bills on the counter, his fingers tightening into fists. She asked once, "Is everything all right, Daniel?" He forced a grin and kissed her forehead. "Everything is fine, my love. You do not have to worry." But the worry began to grow quietly, like a seed buried deep in the soil. Helena wanted to trust him completely, and so she silenced her questions, holding on to the image of the man who loved her with every beat of his heart. She never imagined that this love would one day be tested in the most brutal way possible. Days passed with a strange heaviness surrounding Daniel. Helena could see the lines forming on his forehead whenever he thought she was not looking. He came home later than usual, his clothes smelling of smoke and sweat. One night, Helena waited by the window, the clock striking midnight before the sound of the door creaked open. "Danielle," she whispered, relief flooding her face. "Where have you been?" "I was worried." He rubbed his tired eyes and forced a smile. "I had to take care of something at work. Nothing important. Go back to sleep, my love." But Helena could feel the distance widening like a crack across a wall. His laughter grew rarer, his kisses shorter, his gaze often lost in a storm of thoughts. One evening, Helena found him sitting at the table, his head buried in his hands. She approached slowly, laying her palm on his shoulder. "Daniel, talk to me, please. What is going on?" He looked at her with weary eyes, and for the first time she saw fear in them. "I owe money, Helena. More than I can handle. I thought I could pay it back with the shop earnings. But business is bad. I tried to fix it. I really did." Her heart sank. "How much, Daniel?" "Maybe. We can find a way together. We can work harder, save more." He shook his head. "It is not that simple. I borrowed from the wrong people. They want their money now." Helena clasped his hands tightly. "We will figure this out. You are not alone. I am here." For a moment, it seemed like her words brought him comfort. He rested his forehead against hers and whispered, "You are the only light I have, Helena. If I lose you, I lose everything." The following weeks were a blur of tension. Strangers with hard eyes sometimes appeared near, their house waiting, leaning against black cars. Helena noticed Daniel avoiding their stares. His steps quickened, his shoulders stiff. When she asked about them, he only muttered, "Do not worry about it. Just stay inside." But worry was all she could feel. At night, when Daniel tossed and turned in restless sleep, Helena lay awake staring at the ceiling, praying silently for a miracle. She wanted to believe that love could shield them from the cruelty of the world. Yet in the silence of her heart, a small voice whispered that love alone might not be enough. And Helena did not know that Daniel's desperation would soon drive him to a choice so monstrous, it would destroy everything they had built together. The storm inside Daniel grew louder with every passing day. Helena could see it in his restless pacing, and the way his hands trembled when he thought. She was not watching. The shop barely had customers anymore, and the bills piled higher than their hope. One late evening, Helena was preparing dinner when she heard a sharp knock on the door. Daniel froze, his face pale, as he whispered, "Stay here, Helena, do not come out." He opened the door just enough for two men in dark coats to slip their voices into the house like venom. "Time is up, Daniel," one of them hissed. "You promised last week. You think we are patient men." Helena clutched the spoon in her hand, her heart thundering as she peeked from the kitchen doorway. Daniel's shoulders stiffened. "Please just give me more time. I will pay you, I swear." The second man sneered. "Time does not feed us. Money does. And if you do not deliver soon, we will take what we want by force." The threat hung heavy in the air before they left, slamming the door behind them. Helena rushed to Daniel, gripping his arm. "Who are they, Daniel? What are they talking about?" He turned to her eyes, burning with shame and fear. "They are the ones I owe money to. They are dangerous, Helena. If I do not pay them, they will not just come for me, they will come for us." Her lips trembled. "Then let me help. Let us go to the police. Let us find a way together." Daniel shook his head violently. "You do not understand, Helena. The police cannot protect us from men like them. They own everything in the shadows." Helena cupped his face with trembling hands. "Then what are we supposed to do? Daniel, please do not shut me out." He pulled away, his voice low, almost broken. "I will figure something out. Just trust me." But as you watched him that night sitting in silence, his hands gripping his head, Helena felt a chill crawl up her spine. Trust him, she thought. Yes, she always had. But something in his eyes looked different. Now like a man cornered like an animal, ready to do anything to survive. She lay awake listening to the sound of his uneven breathing and prayed. He would not cross a line that could never be uncrossed. Yet deep inside her heart whispered that the man she loved was already walking toward a choice that would shatter her life forever. The days that followed were painted with silence and dread. Helena noticed Daniel leaving, the house more often returning with empty eyes, and the smell of alcohol clinging to his breath. She tried to reach for him, but he slipped away each time like sand through her fingers. One night, as rain pounded against the windows, Daniel sat at the table with his head lowered. Helena placed a cup of tea in front of him and whispered, "Daniel, please talk to me. You are scaring me." He looked at her with a mixture of guilt and despair. "Helena, I never wanted this. I never wanted you to suffer because of me." "Then stop hiding things from me," she pleaded. "Let me help you. We can find another job. We can sell some things. Anything, but do not carry this alone." Daniel clenched his fists, and his voice cracked. "I owe them too much. Helena, they gave me 1 week. If I do not pay the debt, they will hurt me. Or worse, they will hurt you." Her heart pounded. "What are you saying, Daniel? What are you planning?" For a long moment he said nothing. Then his eyes shifted away, as if ashamed to meet hers. "There is only one way. They offered me a deal." Helena frowned. "A deal? What kind of deal?" Daniel's voice dropped so low it was almost drowned by the rain. "They said you could work for them, just for a while, until the debt is cleared." The room fell silent. Helena stared at him, unable to breathe. The man she loved, the man she trusted with every fiber of her being, had just spoken words that shattered her soul. Her hand shook as she whispered, "You want to sell me?" He slammed his hand on the table. "No, it is not like that. I am just trying to save us. Once the debt is gone, we can start over." Tears welled in her eyes. "Start over? How can we start over after you give me away to strangers?" "Daniel." He reached for her hands, but she pulled back, trembling. "I swear, Helena, it will only be temporary. I will fix everything. You just have to endure for a little while." She stood in silence, her body cold, as if the warmth of their love had been extinguished in an instant. In that moment, Helena realized the man before her was no longer the Daniel she married. He was a desperate stranger willing to sacrifice, the very woman who gave him her heart. And though she said nothing, her soul screamed in horror, knowing her life was about to be torn apart. The night came colder than any Helena had ever felt. Daniel's silence was heavy as he walked beside her through the dimly lit streets. He had told her only one thing: "Put on your best dress. They will be waiting." The words echoed in her mind like knives slicing her spirit. They stopped in front of a tall building with tinted windows. Helena's heart raced as the doors opened, revealing one of the men who had come to their house before. His grin was cruel as he looked at her from head to toe. "So this is the pretty wife," he muttered. she will do. Helena froze. Every part of her wanted to run, but Daniel's hand pressed gently against her back, urging her forward. She turned to him, eyes filled with tears. Daniel, please do not do this. Please do not let them take me. Daniel's face twisted with torment, but he did not move. He whispered under his breath, "Forgive me, Helena. I have no choice." The man grabbed Helena's arm, pulling her inside. She struggled, her voice trembling. "Daniel, please, I am your wife. I trusted you." But Daniel stood rooted in place, his fists clenched, his jaw tight as if he was holding back his own screams. Inside the room, Helena was forced to sit on a velvet couch, the stench of perfume and smoke filling her lungs. Men with greedy eyes lingered nearby, laughing pourings, drinks as if her pain was their entertainment. One of them leaned closer, brushing her hair aside. "You are ours now, girl." Helena's soul shattered. She wanted to vanish, to disappear from this nightmare. She whispered to herself over and over, "I am not broken. I will not let them break me." Back outside, Daniel leaned against the wall, his breath ragged, his chest burning with guilt. Every cry of Helena from inside pierced through him like fire. He had thought this would save them from ruin, but instead, he felt as if he had destroyed the only person who had ever truly loved him. For the first time, Daniel realized that paying his debt with Helena's dignity was not salvation. It was betrayal of the deepest kind. And in that moment, a seed of rage began to bloom in his chest. Not against Helena, not even against himself, but against the men who forced him into this corner. He knew then that this story was not over, that one day he would make them pay. Inside that suffocating room, Helena felt as though the walls themselves were closing in. The men laughed loudly, their voices echoing like demons, celebrating a cruel victory. Helena sat still, her hands clenched tightly on her lap, her body trembling, but her spirit resisting. She whispered silently to herself, "I am not theirs. I am still me. I will survive this." One of the men leaned forward, handing her a glass of wine. "Drink," he commanded, his smile sharp and mocking. Helena turned her head away, her voice low but firm. "No." His eyes darkened, but the leader raised his hand, signaling him to stop. "Not yet. Let her learn slowly. She will bend when she realizes there is no escape." Every second in that place felt like an eternity. Helena's mind drifted to memories of Daniel, his promises of love, his vows to protect her forever. She wondered bitterly if those words had ever meant anything at all. Yet even through the anger, her heart ached, because a part of her still loved the man who betrayed her. Meanwhile, outside, Daniel sat alone in his car, his hands gripping the steering wheel until his knuckles turned white. Each muffled sound from the building twisted like a knife in his chest. He whispered to himself again and again, "What have I done? What kind of man am I?" His phone buzzed a message from the debt collector. "Money received. First payment cleared. She stays with us until the rest is done." Daniel read the words with hollow eyes. His plan had not freed them. It had chained Helena to a nightmare far worse than debt. He slammed his fist against the dashboard, screaming into the darkness, "I am a fool. I should have fought. I should have died before letting this happen." Tears streamed down his face as his mind filled with Helena's smile, her laughter, her warmth, everything he had destroyed in one desperate choice. For the first time, Daniel realized he did not just owe money. He owed his soul to the woman he had betrayed. And unless he found the courage to make it right, he would live haunted by the sound of her broken voice calling his name. Inside, Helena sat in silence, her spirit unyielding. She promised herself, "If Daniel cannot save me, I will save myself. I will not be broken by their cruelty." But what neither of them knew was that the night ahead would be the beginning of their fight, not just for freedom, but for redemption. Daniel could no longer sit in the car, drowning in regret. Every image of Helena's tearful face haunted him until his chest felt ready to shatter. He stepped out into the cold night air, his fists trembling with rage, not fear. For years, Helena had given him her love, her trust, her strength, and he had repaid her with betrayal. But now he swore that he would fight for her, even if it cost him his life. He walked back toward the building, determination burning in his eyes. Two men stood outside, smoking, their laughter sharp and cruel. Daniel approached, his voice low but steady. "I want her back." The men exchanged glances before bursting into laughter. "You sold her to us," Daniel, one of them, sneered. "She is not yours anymore. You think you can just change your mind." Daniel clenched his fists. "I made a mistake. She is my wife. She does not belong to you. I will not let this continue." The taller man flicked his cigarette to the ground, stepping forward. You do not make the rules here. You owe us. You pay with money or with her. There is no third option. Rage surged through Daniel like fire. He lunged forward, landing a punch squarely on the man's jaw. The other rushed at him, but Daniel fought with a strength born, not from skill, but from desperation. Every strike he delivered carried the weight of his guilt. Every blow screamed Helena's name. The noise drew attention from inside. The leader of the collectors stormed out, his face twisted with anger. Enough, Daniel. You want to play hero now after handing her over. You are nothing but a coward. Daniel wiped blood from his lip, his chest heaving. Maybe I was a coward, but not anymore. I will not let you touch her again. The leader sneered. You will die before you take her back. Inside, Helena heard the shouts and the thuds of fists colliding. She rushed to the door guarded by another man. Her eyes blazed with fury. Let me go, she demanded. He pushed her back, laughing. Stay quiet, little bird. But Helena refused to cower. She grabbed a heavy glass from the table and smashed it against his head. He staggered back in pain, giving her the chance to run toward the door. As she burst into the night, she saw Daniel standing bloodied but unbroken, facing the men who had tried to own her. Their eyes met across the chaos, and for the first time since the nightmare began, Helena saw not betrayal in him, but a desperate will to fight for her again. Helena burst through the doorway, her feet pounding against the wet pavement, until she saw Daniel standing there. His face was bruised, but when his eyes met hers, something inside her heart lit up again. She ran to him and clung to his chest, tears spilling freely. Daniel's voice trembled. Helena, forgive me. I failed you once, but I will never fail you again. Before she could reply, one of the collectors stepped forward threateningly. Daniel moved in front of her, his stance firm as if his body alone could shield her from the entire world. Helena felt fear claw at her chest, but she also felt something stronger, rising a fire. That told her she could not stay silent any longer. Daniel braced himself as the leader advanced, sneering. You think you can walk away from us, Danielle? You think she is yours to take back? Helena stepped forward, her voice steady and defiant. I belong to no one but myself. The collectors hesitated as her words cut through the night sharper than any blade. Daniel tightened his grip on her hand and raised his voice. I will no longer bow to your threats. I will no longer live in shame. The leader glared, his pride wounded, but his confidence began to falter. He had expected Helena to cower and Daniel to surrender, but instead, he saw two souls standing together stronger than fear. Helena's heart pounded as she stood tall beside Daniel. Together, they had been broken, but together they would rise. She whispered to him, We are stronger than them, Daniel. Do not let go of me. Never, he answered, his eyes blazing. The collectors muttered angrily among themselves, but none stepped forward. They could see the resolve in Helena's eyes and the fury in Daniel's stance. That kind of determination was dangerous, more dangerous than money or threats. Finally, with a frustrated gesture, the leader turned away, snarling, You will regret this. Daniel pulled Helena close, guiding her away from the place that had almost destroyed them. Their steps were unsteady, but every stride carried new strength. Helena felt the weight of fear lift, little by little, replaced by the fragile hope that they could still build a future together. For the first time since the nightmare began, Helena believed that love might rise again from the ashes of betrayal. The streets were silent as Helena and Daniel walked side by side, their hands tightly interlocked. Their clothes were damp, their faces bruised, yet the bond between them felt stronger than ever. Daniel kept glancing at her, as if afraid she would disappear if he blinked. Finally, he whispered, Helena, I do not deserve your forgiveness. I let fear and weakness blind me. I thought saving myself would save us, but I almost destroyed the only person who ever loved me. Helena listened quietly, her steps slow. The pain inside her had not vanished. The wounds were still fresh. Yet when she looked at him, she saw not the man who betrayed her, but the man who had fought to win her back. Her voice trembled. I cannot forget what you did, Daniel. You gave me away when you should have protected me. But tonight I saw something different. You stood for me. You risked everything. Maybe that is the beginning of redemption. Daniel's chest tightened with emotion. He stopped walking and turned to face her, his eyes wet. Helena, I swear with everything I am, I will never let you feel abandoned again. I will fight for you every day for the rest of my life. For a moment, Helena was silent. Then she slowly placed her hand on his cheek. Her touch was soft, yet heavy with meaning. "I do not know if I can forgive you fully today," she whispered. "But I am willing to walk beside you if you prove with your actions that I am truly your world." Daniel closed his eyes and held her hand against his face. "You are not just my world, Helena. You are my reason to live." They continued walking until they reached their small home. The house looked the same, but to Helena, it felt different, like a place where both pain and healing now lived. Daniel opened the door for her, as if it was the first time he had ever done so. Inside, Helena sat at the table while Daniel knelt before her, his voice steady but humble. "I will rebuild everything I broke, even if it takes a lifetime." And for the first time since the nightmare, began Helena, allowed a fragile smile to form on her lips. She whispered quietly, "Then let us begin again, Daniel." The night no longer felt so dark. The sun rose the next morning, casting a soft glow through the curtains of their home. Helena sat quietly by the window, her eyes following the light. As it touched the walls, Daniel stood behind her, uncertain but determined. He knew words alone were not enough. He had to prove that he was no longer the man who had once betrayed her. "Helena," he said gently, "I need to end this once and for all. Those men will not stop unless I confront them. I do not want you to live in fear." Her heart tightened with worry, but she nodded slowly. "I will not stop you, Daniel. But remember, this is not just about fighting them. This is about proving that you will never abandon me again." Daniel kissed her forehead and left with a fire in his chest. He returned to the place where the collectors lurked, their arrogance thick in the air. The leader sneered when he saw him. "So the coward comes back." But Daniel stood tall, his voice steady. "I am no coward. I let fear control me once, and it almost destroyed everything. No more. You will not touch me or my wife again." The men stepped forward, ready to intimidate him. But this time, Daniel did not falter. He fought with the strength of a man defending his soul every strike, carrying the weight of his remorse and the power of love he had almost lost. His courage stunned them, and when the fight ended, they retreated muttering curses, humiliated by the man they once controlled. Breathless but victorious, Daniel returned home, his body aching, but his spirit renewed. He found Helena waiting at the doorway, her hands clasped tightly together. When she saw him safe, tears filled her eyes. He fell to his knees before her, his voice breaking. "I have nothing to give but my life, Helena. I was blind. I was weak. But I swear to you, I will never leave you again. You are my heart, my hope, my only reason to keep breathing. Please let me spend the rest of my life making it right." Helena's tears flowed freely as she knelt and embraced him. Her voice shook, but it carried the warmth of forgiveness. "I believe you, Daniel. Let us leave the shadows behind and live in the light again." And so they began anew, not with riches or grandeur, but with a love tempered by fire and stronger than fear. Their home, once marked by sorrow, became a place of healing, where every sunrise felt like a promise. Together, Helena and Daniel walked forward, their scars reminding them of the past, but their hearts bound by a vow that nothing could break again.